Ethereum Classic explosion, everyone. Ethereum Classic leads the way. It can't seem to come back down at all. What I have here is a 30-minute view for Ethereum Classic, and it is on fire, going to the moon. All of the things, all the memes. Is this the real deal? So far, it's doing everything it needs to do to convince us that the crash is behind us. We had our low back on January 24th, 22nd actually, which closely aligns with what we saw in Bitcoin and Ethereum, the two largest cryptos and the main indicator of sentiment in the crypto space. Unlike most of the other cryptos, we did not have a lower low on February 24th, whereas a lot of the other altcoins did have lower lows on that date. We did have a pretty serious pullback there. So maybe it's a truncated final fifth wave of the larger pullback, or maybe it's a second wave. Not totally sure, but we've got ourselves a rally. We've broken through a lot of resistances. And if you bought the dip a couple of weeks back when I was calling for us to buy the dip, you've probably made out like a bandit so far. I know I'm looking pretty good. I didn't buy at the best possible time. I had a couple of buy boxes here. We did pull back pretty scarily all the way into feels like an eternity ago, last week. And since then, something happened. We basically jumped on a springboard trampoline and just took off right in the sky. We were at about $25.11, and we are all the way up to $48.12. As a matter of fact, it's so insane, it doesn't fit in this view without me zooming out a little bit. The reason I zoom in is because the shape is still very important to pay attention to. We had our 5 waves up initially. That was the original blue pattern, but it turns out that we dipped into what looked like a second wave. However, it fits better as this stretch here being the 5th wave. So this would be our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by an ADC correction. Where the actual bottom is, whether it's here or here, it's unclear. It's a bit lower here, so I'm going to call it that. Maybe it's an A, B, and an ending diagonal C wave, something like that. It's not the prettiest thing. Maybe a 1 first wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave. A lot of ways to count it. Point is that we've already broken through. Well, we've broken through the resistance. There was a chance that this is actually an A and a B and a C wave up. That would be a corrective bounce or bull trap. We didn't get that because typically your C wave would not break through the 1.61 extension at $38.13. We tore right through that thing. As a matter of fact, we tore right through the 2.0 extension, the 2.32 extension. Man, I actually want to see, did we already break through the 2.618 extension? That wouldn't be a particularly significant fib in my opinion, but just out of curiosity, let's see what we got here. And the answer to that question is absolutely, we did. So this is probably too high to be a C wave. And therefore, if we do end up having a sharp reversal and we have a pullback, we're going to see a lot more of a setup than we have right now. There's nothing but bullishness at the moment. You can see how the MACD got stretched to the upside, pulled back, stretched again, pulled back, getting stretched again. This is what you expect to see in a third wave. This is probably a third wave. I'm going to call this the larger degree third wave. And if I zoom out a little bit further, perhaps this really was a 1-2. And if that is the case, that would explain why Ethereum Classic is a little further ahead than a lot of the other cryptos. As a matter of fact, when I build out our Fibonacci extension based on this being a 1-2, so again, 1-2, we've gotten more than high enough for this to be a larger degree third wave. That would go as high as 48.91. We basically hit it. So if we see a bit of a sideways consolidation over the next day or two, not be surprising at all. And I fully expect us to get to $55 relatively shortly after that. If that happens, we could legitimately call this a 1, 2, a 3, 4, and a 5. So kind of hard to interpret here. Going to shift to the bigger picture view. This is the long-term logarithmic chart, which I do have a link posted to below in the description. So feel free to check that out. I have not really changed much here at all because Ethereum Classic did not break any significant supports down below. Our low for January 22nd still stands. So our extensions still stand as well. And you can see this green vine growing up towards the sky here. We have actually recovered a lot of the losses that we had starting in December. We're about as high as we were in early December, which is pretty spectacular when you think about it, because we did have a fake out rally earlier that fall, actually late in the summer. So this is looking good. When I look at that MACD, MACD, we have that classic divergence going on where we kept having lower lows, yet we looked less stretched to the downside. So that is a good sign. We also hit what was the 0.764 extension of what I was calling the A wave. So we have this fib built out here, right here. This is based on this A wave here, B wave bounce, and our C wave. Again, ideally would be at the 1.0 extension, 1425. We didn't make it there. We're not out of the woods yet. So I'm going to keep this red pattern here as an alternate. I know it says red primary. I'm going to have this shifted by the time I publish the video, hopefully. But our green is the primary. And we've torn through so many resistances. We had our 5-wave rally, another nested 5-wave rally 3 years back. And we are just rolling right now. So this is looking very good. And, well, we're working our way towards this box up here. So I'm going to actually go over the long-term pattern real quick, just make sense of what I expect to see next. Ethereum Classic, I actually did a rearrangement, so to speak. I was looking at this as a nested 1-2 setup, kind of akin to what you see with EOS and XLM, Stellar Lumens. Those had a 1-2 setup. It still could be. However, I find that the diagonal structure fits this a bit better because we hit almost the 1.0 extension here. There's no clear 5-wave impulsive structure to this rally. That's why I have these purple labels here showing that this is probably better identified as an ABC with a pretty extended C wave. If you look at this thing, you got that antenna spike and went parabolic. So that is my primary right now. How does that make things different? Well, typically diagonals don't extend as high as more of an impulsive setup would. So if we are gonna more or less invalidate that this is a diagonal, that this is actually an impulse, this is a great start. If we start rallying like crazy, that would be a very good sign that we are actually going impulsively. So if I see a 5-wave impulse into this box, which is about where the 0.32 to 0.61 extension is of what this is, if we're assuming this is a first wave, that would be a very good sign that this is actually, again, nested 1-2. We're going to have another 1-2, and we would be rocketing up to the next fib, which would be in the $1,150 range, something like that. That'd be a significant target. Otherwise, as is my current primary right now, I see this whole thing as a diagonal. So in a diagonal pattern, you, well, number one, the whole structure fits inside a trend channel line, set of trend channel lines, and then you're going to have your projections go a little bit lower than you would in an impulse. So your third wave hits the 1.0 to 1.236 extensions. We fell a little bit short, but close enough for me, I think. You have a deep fourth wave retrace, which we absolutely had. As a matter of fact, this big fourth wave here overlaps the first wave top. So again, textbook standard, what you'd expect. And our fifth wave would hit somewhere between the 1.618 and the 1.764 targets, ideally. But because we fell short, I am conservatively sticking to this 1.32 extension, which puts us at about 1034 as our final top. This is why Ethereum Classic scores a little bit lower in our max gain score than does Bitcoin Cash, just because I'm not projecting quite as high. But again, things can change, have to be open. When the data changes, your mind should change as well. So if we are following that diagonal, expect this to be a zigzag pattern. So you expect to see a ABC into this box. That'll be your A wave as noted in blue. Expect a sharp pullback. I'm assuming a 61.8% retrace, and that is a common retrace, and you see similar equivalences here. Actually, here it was a 38.2% retrace. So whatever it is, we'd expect to see one final impulse. Yes, impulse, a 5 or an ending diagonal, some kind of a 5-wave structure that would potentially end in blow-off fashion. And that is because oftentimes ending diagonals have a bit of a throw over, and the overs are basically a representation of exuberance, essentially excessive positive sentiment right before everything keels over. If that happens, we would top right around here again, around the $1,000 mark, and we would have a very sharp reversal that would absolutely bury you. So that would be a great time to take profits, get out. Again, this is assuming that our primary structure holds as is, and well, that's a long way up from here. That'd be almost, well, it was a 38x, 39x return from here. Now that we've rallied quite a ways, it's the returns are not as good if you buy now, but there's plenty of meat left on the bone. If you're looking to buy again later, maybe you don't want to, you don't have the cash at the moment, you could wait for this A wave to complete and then buy on what I'm looking at as a basically the B wave or the second wave, whatever that is. That would be another good buying opportunity. Again, if you like altcoins, I always strongly recommend diversify. Don't just fall in love with one altcoin, fall in love with 5 or 6 at least, maybe even 8. That way, you never know, again, which one will outperform. In this case, if you bought Ethereum Classic, you're probably really happy right now, despite it being one of my, I guess, lower max gain score cryptocurrencies. I'm glad I have a good holding, good amount of holdings of that because it's outperforming right now. And some of the other cryptos I have higher hopes for are, well, they're finally catching up. So Ethereum Classic is lagging, is leading. That's a good sign. So all in all, let's see how this thing develops. We're not out of the woods yet because any kind of spike down could signal that we could end up in this box. I'm not expecting that right now. So fingers crossed. I'm going to have plenty more updates. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss those. And until next time, thank you for watching and happy trading.